Hi guys, welcome to Interview with the Director. My name is Ilsa Ambika, and I am here today with Joshua Michael
Hi guys.
from Selway Studios.
Yes.
Yeah, so super excited to be able to finally do this.
I know, right?
We've had a couple factors coming in the way, and then today it's rainy, and we still figured it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Very proud of us.
That's right.
That's what we do. We improvise.
Right?
Yeah. And on that note, oh my gosh, I'm excited to dive in. Let's just start at the beginning.
Okay.
How did Selway Studios get going?
Well, Selway Studios started in 2020, January of 2020, actually. And I'm going to actually take you back to
All right, we're going all the way back.
going all the way back to the beginning.
Here we go.
So basically, I was in the military 12 years and went to Iraq, was medically discharged for PTSD. And then during, what was it, 1998.
Oh, we're going
way back. Right?
Let's take a tour
Yeah.
way back. All right.
In 1998, a friend of mine, an NCO friend of mine, that's a sergeant for those of you who don't know, was a real big film guy, liked to run around with his film camera and make little home movies and that kind of thing. And so we used to have fun doing that.
What were you guys filming on back then?
Little Sony flip cams,
Okay,
actually.
just wanted to know.
Because Sony back then was the camera that had the best bit rates and the best sound and all that
Okay,
stuff.
don't diss on Sony. I use a Sony.
No, Sony's good, man. I like Sony. So anyway, when I got deployed in 2003, right after 9/11, and I wanted to be medically discharged in 2005. And so I decided I was going to go back to college and realized real quick I did not want to spend any more time in the medical field. And I just was kind of done with that. So I thought, well, what can I do? I could be an actor. So I started at Pierce College and was going to be an actor and decided, nope, don't want to be an actor. I want to direct. And so I decided that I would go to Evergreen State College. And I wanted to start my own film production company. I started Area 51 Productions. And I knew, though, that I wanted to be able to go from beginning to end of a project. Because I never wanted to be in a situation where somebody could either keep me from finishing it or that I was not able to finish it myself. And so knowing that, Evergreen allowed you to kind of design your own program.
That's so cool.
And I knew I also I was not able to sit for as long as I needed to in a chair in a classroom. It just wasn't me. And so Evergreen gave me the opportunity to kind of create my own degree program.
Cool.
And so I sat down with the dean. I said, this is kind of what I want to do. He gave me some directions, said you might go look up Seattle University because they're a big film degree school. And so I did that, and UW. And so I assembled my own degree program based on writing, filming, and producing a film. And I wanted, like I said, I wanted to be able to learn the entire process all the way through marketing.
Yes.
And so I put this degree program together. I sat down with the dean. The dean loved it and said, absolutely, you can do this. So I did. Cool. And so my undergraduate was in film production, but it's in film production, the entire process.
The process.
Process. And so back then, a lot of degree programs just focused on one thing, which is why, again, I wanted to learn the whole process.
Totally. So
I did, and then I decided to go and make a film for my undergrad, and I had sort of written The Given Days, so that had sort of started, but I created a film called The Inevitable, which my first feature film was a zombie movie.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was an incredible project. We had 300 people from the local area come out and support us, and it just was a lot of fun. And so I graduated with my BA in film production.
Cool.
So right after that, my wife and I decided to move to Texas.
Okay.
And so through the process, decided I would go back and get my master's degree in some kind of field production or film production study. And so what I settled on was a master's in instructional design and technology, which is basically creating instructional material, but it's filming and graphic design and a lot of other elements.
Oh, cool.
So I did that. I was originally going to kind of sell off all my equipment and just deal with the instructional design part of it. And so by the time we had moved to Montana, I decided, well, I'm here now. Why not create my own film production company again? I had shut down Area 51, and so I had to sit down with another friend, and I had all these film people around me at all times. Just amazing how that happens.
So
The universe
cool.
is like,
So
here you
meant to
go,
be.
and we're just going to keep all these film people around you.
Yeah.
And so my friend said, what are you going to name it? I said, I have no idea. I was just new to Montana. I had, I said, I don't know. He says, well, look at you out looking out that door.
I told you, he just likes to be close. Come here, Karuk. Come here. You should go this way.
That's all right.
Sit. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
So anyway, my friend says to me, do you know what a Selway is? And of course, I had no clue what a Selway was. And
I didn't either.
Right? Who knows what a Selway? Who really knows what a Selway is? Anyway, so he says a Selway is the top of a mountain ridge. Well, just out here we have the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
And so
gotta represent.
Immediately my logo kind of came to me, and I was like, okay, it's got to be the mountain ridge with Selway Studios as the logo. And so that started a process of, I decided if I'm going to do this, I'm going to dust off all my equipment.
Cool.
And I'm going to get to work. And so I started reaching out and making networks of people like you and James and people. And I'm like, hey, we don't have any money, but I've got X number of dollars worth of equipment. Let's start making projects.
Make movies.
And the money end of it will work itself out.
Yeah.
And I knew enough about film to know that if you could find a good core group of people that believed in the vision,
Yep,
anything's possible, and that sells on film. And you see the love on film, and that's what sells any project. So that's kind of how Selway Studios started.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now we're off and running.
Now we're up and running. We got so many projects right now.
We
It's
do.
amazing.
Yeah.
Even just hearing that this company just started in 2020, it's incredible how many things you've already accomplished and done.
Thank you.
With this company.
Right.
Just to name a few, starting off Checkmate, which I definitely want to talk about.
Okay.
There are a lot of things going on with Checkmate right now. Actually, let's just start there before I even go through all the other ones.
Right.
Let's start with Checkmate. So this was,
So Checkmate started originally, I had written the original script 10 years ago. And it was a sheriff and an outlaw. They meet in this shack to play chess, and the winner takes all. And in that story, I flipped the script, and the outlaw wins, and so I kind of stayed true to that a little bit in Checkmate.
Yeah.
With the Checkmate story, I kind of reached over because I had another feature film I'm working on called Blood of My Tears, and it's a Civil War. White guy falls in love with a Native American girl and saves her life, and there's this whole story that unravels, obviously. And so I asked my father, Richard James Gennari, to join me in Selway Studios and be my co-executive director. And so we were talking one day about trying to do a period piece. And as you know, period pieces are they're very expensive.
Totally.
Because of all the period costumes and then all the weapons, and it just becomes very expensive to do a period piece.
Yeah.
So we were wondering, could you do a period piece for cheap? And could we maybe use one of our old scripts as a proof of concept? So I said, funnily enough, I actually have this other piece called Checkmate that, was about the sheriff and this outlaw. And so I said, what if we took the characters from Blood of My Tears and put them in Checkmate?
Oh, interesting.
So we took the ending of the film, or part of the ending, excuse me, and decided to shoot that. It was one location. So we said, as long as we get one location, we could do this. And so
Yes.
we made it really interesting because it went through several different renditions. There was a rendition where Colleen Randall was in a psych ward, and this was all in her head. And so we wound up sticking true to the story. But as all stories do, you kind of go through these sections of how do we do this as an independent piece?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to give too much away about the feature film for the blood of my tears, and so we decided to keep Checkmate kind of as its own thing. And so we still use the same names from this other story, but kept the purity of Checkmate as its own piece. And I just was kind of curious too. I used to love playing chess as a kid.
Yeah.
Can you do a chess game and make it interesting?
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, not that it's not hard enough to do a period piece. Can we do a period piece and play chess? And play chess. And
make it engaging.
And make it engaging. Yeah. And so with the characters of Colleen Randall and her looking for this other outlaw, or who she perceived to be an outlaw, it became really cool. And the more we kind of tightened it up, the more we realized, this really would be a really cool film to shoot. Yeah. And so Melanie went out and found us a location, which was Headframes. And Headframes said, sure, yeah, come on in. That's one of the things I love about Montana.
Yes. Totally.
A lot of the businesses are very willing to let you, to work with you.
Yeah.
And just love to support film.
Yeah.
And so I really loved that location. It was a historical location. They had a historical bar front.
That's another cool piece about Montana. We've got this whole Western vibe already built in.
Right.
A lot of history.
Well, the other cool thing is they let us use their own bottles. Like,
cool.
They had their own alcohol bottles, and they're like, we've got unlabeled bottles. Here, use these. We
awesome.
filled them with the different colored liqueurs or drinks that we had there, and they were willing to really let us strip everything off the bar, make it period accurate, and move stuff around. Like they were just
That's
awesome.
Amazing.
Awesome.
That is
awesome
really
to work.
Amazing.
And so then we edited the film, put it together. I had a friend of mine made us some music pieces for it, which were really cool. And I, after talking to the staff and the board of directors for Selway, decided we were going to make a list of film festivals to put it in.
Cool.
And at the top of my list was the Wild Bunch Film Festival.
Oh, no way?
Yeah.
Wow.
And did not really think that we would get a chance to be in that festival, just because, you had to make your list from top to bottom.
Of course.
Yeah. We always judge ourselves somewhere in between. We usually underestimate our, our abilities, I guess. But again, I felt, Checkmate's awesome, not because I'm awesome. Checkmate's awesome because I had an amazing team.
Yeah.
Like, the director of photography was amazing. All of the actors, the extras, everybody that came out to support that project. Oh, cool. If it hadn't been for them, there would be no Checkmate. Yeah. So, my thanks to them.
All the pieces just came
together.
Yeah.
And so now we were accepted into the Wild Bunch Film Festival. So
Yes, that is so awesome. Yeah, and not only that, hold on, being humble. You also won some awards.
Well,
Can you tell us a little bit about that piece?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we won. Not only accepted, there are some other pieces to this.
Yeah, I was quite taken back. We actually were nominated for 7 awards. 7 awards, from Best Short Western Film to Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, and Supporting Actress. Best First Time Filmmaker, and Best Western Drama. It's so overwhelming, actually. To think, 7. I mean,
this took all the awards.
Right. It's everything. No. It's one thing to get like a couple of awards, that's good. But to me, 7 is
wait,
an amazing amount of awards. And
very validating.
Very valid. Yeah, very valid. And really, it's very validating, I think, too, for the company, like for us as a company.
And a new company.
Yeah.
To already be able to have that under your
Yes,
belt.
correct.
It says a lot.
It says a lot.
Yeah.
And to be able to do a period piece. And the cool thing is, like I said, we did Checkmate for under $1,000.
Yeah.
Which I think was, I didn't expect to hit that goal. I thought we'd go
A little
a little over. And when we calculated it, it was just under by right around $100 or so.
Wow.
Or like between $50 and $100, I think is what
Yeah.
the budget. Yeah. And
So cool.
it was very cool. Yeah. So very exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So that we started with Checkmate, but I want to go into some of the other projects that you're currently working on. So you have a feature film that was a third of the way filmed. A third of it was
filmed. Yeah.
Okay.
Of the script.
So yeah, let me rephrase that. So you have a feature film. Coming out, and you guys filmed a third of it this summer. Yeah.
But yeah.
Can you tell us about that film?
So The Given Days started as my narration. After I got back from Iraq, I had been medically discharged for post-traumatic stress, and a long time did not fully understand the dynamic of that.
Yeah.
And it really affects your whole ability to kind of fit it back into society.
Totally.
And so I kind of jotted down some some of my experiences, and not expecting to do anything with them per se. I just did some journalings, and a friend of mine said, "Why don't you take your journalings and create a story?"
Wow.
I said, "Well, what story would I create?" He goes, "It doesn't have to be a real story.
Yeah.
But for you to be able to vent some of this out, take it and create a story, and then you can use those in the story for your action stuff."
That's cool.
And I was like, oh, all of a sudden the floodgates open and thoughts are coming. And so I talked to another friend. I said, why don't we do it about a local kid? And these are the, basic ideas. And so I wrote a story about a local kid that wanted to play football, wanted to be a football star. And due to circumstances, winds up in a situation where, like all young kids, makes an impulsive decision, decides he's going to run away from the problem, and it winds up making the problem worse.
Wow.
And then how do you put the pieces of your broken life back together?
Totally.
And so...
and what a powerful way to tell your story.
Yeah.
In putting it into a more positive outlet that can actually affect other people and influence other people. I mean, that's really cool.
Well, and I really wanted to capture the idea of, I've seen a lot of veteran films that deal with, from a distance, this veteran that's going through this issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I've not seen a film yet that really puts you in the mind of that veteran.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to really give the audience the feel of being in Justin's head.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of backflashes in the film and a lot of things that we do to try to make that audience really realize what it means when we say backflash.
Yeah.
And the thought process of that. One of my favorite war films of all time is Black Hawk Down. Because I felt it was shot so true to life.
Interesting.
And it's a first, there's a lot of other films that are great, but Black Hawk Down for me was the closest to home.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of capture that idea. I wanted the audience to feel when Justin's having a backflash, you're right there looking over his shoulder. You're in it.
Yeah. Feeling it as well.
And although Justin at the time is not actually in it, he's in it.
Yeah.
And how do you convey that to the audience?
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to visually convey that in a way that made sense and was true to PTSD.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a challenge. A lot of our creative department sat down and said, how do we do this? How do we show that?
Yeah.
And so I've had conversation with my DP, James Gartner, about the different filming styles.
Definitely.
And trying to make sure that we only do certain styles that in for example, in combat, we only use them during certain times to convey a certain feeling of it.
Totally.
Because I want to take the audience and I want to pull them out of reality and drop them in this in this situation. Mm-hmm. And so you can do that through film styles.
Definitely.
By how you shoot different things.
Yeah.
And so James and I talked about it, decided we're going to use certain styles when he's at home, and then certain styles when he's in combat. And I wanted more of that kind of documentary film feel when you're in the combat.
That makes sense.
Because it brings the audience in
kind
closer to the action. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We had an amazing 2 weeks of shooting.
Cool.
We took, in fact, we were granted a film grant from the Montana Film Office and the Big Sky Film Grant. And so that actually helped us really take care of that whole first third part of the film. We are now looking to raise about $50,000 to $70,000 because I want to take another 2 or 3 weeks and really find a desert location somewhere.
Yeah.
And really dive into the military part of it.
Totally. And that makes sense. It's a powerful story. You want to be able to do it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and I could see why this would be close to your heart.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I really wanted to be able to, at the end, hopefully let the audience understand that how do we heal our broken soldiers? Totally. We send them to war.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about healing them. But how do you do that? And
when we talk about PTSD, but we don't actually really know what we're talking about. And what it feels like.
Right.
And so I think it's really cool that you can take the audience into that actual feeling and how you have to then integrate back to normal life, and you're not normal anymore.
Right. You're not normal.
You just had a crazy experience that not many people can relate to.
Well, and that's the thing about PTSD is when we always talk about the combat soldier, but PTSD on a larger scale isn't just about combat. You have women that go through trauma. PTSD is really about trauma. That's really what it's about.
Yeah.
We talk about combat trauma, but there's all kinds of trauma. Women have rape trauma. You have, not going to go through it all, but you understand what I'm saying. So the whole idea is dealing with the trauma and how do we put those pieces back and really make it about healing. And is there a way,
definitely
to do that?
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much more I even want to just dive into that aspect.
Right.
Because that is a whole topic all in its
Right.
And how, just that question that you put out there, how do we do that? How do we do that as a society? How do we do that? I think a big part is just in general, the males, we are taught in our society to be a certain way. And so to kind of push away their traumas and just be tough in it and totally deal with it that way, as opposed to that's some deep body, those are some deep wounds, and it's deeply traumatic. And so how do we allow our men to feel, process, go through that, yeah, in a healthy way, but also in the film, it even shows, it can be a little scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the way that he wakes up in the middle of the night and the way that he's feeling it can be, as a partner, how would you deal with that? How do women then support a male to go through that? There's a lot in that film brings up.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to come back and do a whole
we got to do
interview
that because I find that super
on the trauma of PTSD
and interesting. But so that is one incredible project. Yeah, still in the works. So can you tell us a little bit about each of the actors? In the given days.
Yeah. So I knew I need to have some really strong characters to drive the story. And so my first choice was my brother Jonathan, who's playing Justin, who also is a co-writer on the film. And he and I are very close. He's actually seen a lot of the trauma that I went through, a lot of the emotional part of it. And so when he wrote the script, I felt really he's a SAG actor, and so he's a brilliant actor on his own right. And so I said, I'd really love to cast you in this as that. And originally, what's funny is I had thought about casting him as Max.
Oh, really?
And he wanted to play that character Max.
Yeah.
And character's a fun part because it's your antagonist,
totally,
if you will. And but after Rick and I sat down with him, I said, listen, really, I need you to play Justin. Nobody knows the role better. Nobody knows, my stuff better than that.
Yeah, that's
than
very
you.
true.
And he would graciously accepted and was excited.
Yeah.
And I was
big
excited.
role.
It's a big role.
It's a deep role.
It's a deep role.
You have to, really
you
go.
really have to take some time to get your head wrapped around things as we went through it.
Yeah.
And I did have to give him time for that, which was a lot of, I say fun. It really wasn't fun. It was just having to identify he needs time to get into certain headspaces.
Totally.
And then Max, the Doug Dean, plays Max. And Doug is an amazing actor. He's just an amazing young man. And it was a challenge at first, I think, for him to play such kind of a manipulative character.
Totally.
And there's an interesting psychosis you have to explore a little bit when you play someone that twisted.
Yeah.
And so we had a couple of talks about it, and he kind of really loved the character, and we just kind of molded it together, and he did a phenomenal job.
Cool.
And of course, there's Amanda Bear Medicine who plays Sierra, and she's a phenomenal actor in her own right. She also plays in Checkmate, and also in Chronicles.
Oh yeah.
And so I, as a director, I have my favorite actors and actresses that I like to work with long term.
Well, you know who works. You know how you can communicate with certain actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I personally, like I said, I just like to work with actors and actresses that I know and that I know are easily directable.
Yes,
and that
totally.
understand the art of acting. And so I love working with Amanda. She did great, and she actually far exceeded my expectations.
Oh, cool! Really?
And so there were some scenes that I thought might be challenging, and she flew through them just really phenomenally. So
amazing.
Yeah, and then there's who's the other gal that plays?
I know.
I know. What's
there was one of the best actress, really,
the best
in the whole film.
Right,
I mean,
so and you of course play Jolene.
Jolene.
And Ilsa's amazing. You're amazing. Of course, you're sitting here, and
yeah.
So yeah, it was so fun, and then
it was a great role. It was super fun.
It was a lot of it was a blast,
and I feel like it's cool to see each person come into the role and bring a new element.
Yeah.
I think our bringing in Jolene brought a softness to this manipulative character.
Yeah,
which was kind of cool.
Absolutely, and I think we talked about it a little bit too. We've even changed that Jolene character a little bit.
Yeah,
totally. Because originally when I wrote it, she was kind of meant to be just this corporate muckety muck who just loved money, and I was like, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It needs to offset Max. And so to see somebody loving and soft
around opposites attract.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it helped balance those two characters, and you did a great job at it, and
Thank you.
I love working with you too, as you know. So so anyway, that cast, I'm so looking forward to moving on with that project and getting into some real more deep material.
Yeah.
So
super cool.
So
awesome. And another thing I just have to say, being on set with you, just the full family vibe that you create. And I just loved being on set with that cast. I just felt welcomed right away. I felt comfortable right away. Everybody's just so easy to work with.
Right.
And it's such a fun environment.
Well,
and I've been on many different, sets, and some of them can just be so kind of corporate feeling.
Yeah, right.
And intense, and everyone's in their own lane. But yours, it was just felt so fun and supportive. That's really important.
That actually means a lot to
creating a good film. You see it, you feel it through the actors, through, all of that. So
we've talked about this too, is my goal is not to just create a project and move on. My goal is to create a filmmaking family. Ultimately. And then create a tight core group of people to be able to move projects forward and to really fall in love with. That's what I love about
same
film.
And that's, I think, why we've connected working together. And I have a very similar vision, so that's I love that.
Right on.
So we have the projects that we were working on this summer, and then now you currently have a project
Yes.
that you're in the middle of, a series.
Really fun project.
This one's super fun. Right. I'm really excited to announce this one. I might be a little biased.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, right? But this is a series, The Chronicles of Alt-Earth, and the Star Wars nerd in me,
right?
And you.
Yes, absolutely.
I think is really excited about this one, and especially because a project like this has never happened in Montana.
Right.
So it's kind of the first of its kind.
Yeah. Yep.
And we have filmed the first episode, but
Yep.
we still have a bunch of episodes to go.
Right. Right.
And can we hear a little bit about that? Let's start. Just how did the story?
Okay, so how did it start?
Okay,
so what? 15 years. Yeah. Okay. So it actually started with the idea of doing VFX.
Oh, cool.
And
okay.
15 years ago, it would have been impossible to do something like this 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You had to get a whole team of VFX artists together, or it spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on VFX.
Totally.
And it just wasn't, or you had to know how to do it, and it took frame by frame by frame by frame to do it. But recent technology has allowed you to buy VFX packs. And I know, right? And so I ran across this website called Big Films, and they're really big on VFX. And so I bought a pack, and I'm like,
let's play around
with this thing. So I called up my dad, and I said, hey, let's do these vignettes. Let's do a 2 or 3 page vignette. Let's give everybody on the board of directors and everybody involved with Selway Studio their own little character. We'll have like just a really short interaction. They'll get to fight and do something cool, and then we'll move on to something else.
Oh, cool.
As all scripts in my life,
they've taken a whole life.
Right, it's about that time in my life I realized that's not happening.
Yeah.
Because every script that I try to do that's short winds up into this bigger thing. And I now live by the philosophy of stories write themselves.
Yes.
And so once you hit a good character, you hit a good story, it takes off on you.
Totally.
And this is what happened. And so, because we had all these different vignettes, but they all seemed to, I could see how they would all connect.
Yeah.
And Rick did too. And he's like, well, but we could do this and do that. So hell with it. Let's just write the short scripts. We have to keep them short, but they're going to be full short films. Then I realized, well, wait a minute. If we're writing short films, why don't we write short films that all tell the same story? If we're going to do that and tackle it, they theoretically at the end could be edited into a feature film.
Oh.
So this became a thing where I figured, we'll start with these little episodes. We'll put them out as web series, but then we'll do a re-edit at the end of the season to do a feature film.
Bring it all together.
Yes.
Oh, cool. I didn't even know that part.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, because the idea was that we could handle... So James is not only my DP, he also loves editing, and so I've given him kind of the workload of a lot of the editing.
Totally.
And I'm setting up a system in Selway, as you know, that we can do it on a server type basis. So I could have multiple editors working on projects at the same time. And with VFX, because they're so heavy, I knew, okay, we could do like a 10-minute short and get it knocked out in 30 days and maybe get it processed within a 30-day window. And so month, 2 month, whatever, but 30 days was the window goal.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, so if we do that, then we can tackle a couple of these. I like to go out and try to shoot them in a weekend. And so we could theoretically, if we keep the costumes cheap and not cheap, but I'm saying, inexpensive and keep things simple, we can go out on a weekend or 2 weekends, film it, put it in the can, start working on it, get it knocked out. And I'm not trying to do a whole feature film. Yeah. That's just, right now, just more than we are able to handle in that large of a workload. But after I talked to James, we can tackle these in small little chunks. Well, so you put them out, we have a company called Film Hub that we're using, and we're using Film Hub kind of as a linchpin to start generating income. So my business plan involves Film Hub and marketing projects to start generating income for the company too. So I'm kind of doing something outside the norm.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going the typical way of finding a traditional distributor, but I want to put these out and put it on a worldwide basis. So that's the cool thing about Film Hub is it's
and this day and age that you can do that. You know, that there's so many platforms. I mean, there's such a branch of opportunities.
To talk about Film Hub a little bit, they were started by one of the producers of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
And
I didn't know that.
They have set up their company in a way to pay back to the creators 80% of the profit. Now that's unheard of.
That's amazing
in the independent world.
Mm-hmm.
That's normally your distributorships get a good majority of that money, and the creators usually wind up with the lesser of the percentage.
Yeah.
And that's normally how it's always been. But
time to change the game.
Yeah, right. Film Hub's kind of changing the whole.
Not okay anymore.
Not okay anymore.
Yeah, we're getting a little stronger.
And so it's really cool. Yeah. I'm super excited because, like I said, Checkmate, and now the first episode of Chronicles has been put up on Film Hub.
Cool.
And so hopefully, I'm hoping to really plug into the fantasy genres and the fantasy fandom.
Yes.
The second script. So let's go back and talk about the first script, I guess, of Chronicles.
Episode 1.
Episode 1. And I was trying to not have such a large role in this originally, but I thought for the first one, I would kind of come out and establish
start it.
And then, of course, my wonderful co-writer was like, "Oh no, I love this character now, and we got it."
Let's put it.
So I'm like, okay. So anyway, it is what it is. And now, I knew that I couldn't direct on, and not that I couldn't. I don't like to direct and act at the same time.
Yeah.
And so
sense.
You and I had actually
multitasking.
Yeah. Right.
Wait.
So I think you and I had been in communication for a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, Ilsa, I think I'd like you to direct this. And actually, that's right. You started as the AD.
Yep.
So originally I brought you on as AD, and I thought, well, if she's going to AD, and I'm going to be in front of the camera, might as well just make her a director.
Yeah.
And that way she can just direct. And you did phenomenal, by the way.
Oh,
she's an amazing director. Absolutely amazing. Oh. And so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You did great.
Thank you.
And we're now actually in film festivals and already. I haven't shared that yet.
Like, how did this even happen?
So,
it's just like
it was really cool.
So cool.
So tell me about you. Like, I want to know more about your experience. Like, what was your experience about with directing that series?
That series, oh my gosh. So just beginning on that end, I have a big background in acting as well.
Uh-huh.
And so for me, I feel like my directing has a lot to do with the acting side of things. I really like to be able to like immerse the characters and hone in on that piece of them feeling it. And especially with something like this, it's like we're adding a lot of VFX elements.
Yeah.
So for them to really feel the magic that's coming out of their hands and making it realistic. And so that was kind of a piece that I feel like I was really wanting to focus in on. And directing it was a blast.
Right.
Because we have a great cast and we got to film in a beautiful location.
Right.
So that was already like speaking for itself.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So one of the characters, obviously, in that first episode is Amanda. And
yes.
When I originally wrote that piece, I wanted it to start with these two characters, strong characters, are fighting, and I wanted to kind of fool the audience into believing that Aura was Drugai, because the whole narration is all about the Drugai coming back to the planet and they're creating havoc, and so that was my intention. Talk to me as a director.
Yes.
About one, why you're excited about this project.
Okay.
And two, where you want to see certain things go.
Okay. Well, I mean, first of all, exciting to step into a project that's already this big, that we have this whole world that has been created. And for me, I'm like a huge sci-fi fan and huge Star Wars nerd. And I just love the way that even Star Wars has started to take like these characters we've always known and then diving deeper into the worlds. And I think that that's what's so cool about this series is that we are, like you had said, it started with little vignettes and now it's like, wait, but we want to know about this character. Okay, can we go back into that person's world? And can we go back into this world? And it's kind of branched off into a whole universe with these characters. And so that is, as a director, super exciting because, like I said, I love doing character development. And I love that now we're at a point in filmmaking that there isn't just the good guy and the bad guy.
Right.
It's why is this character the way that it is? What did this character go through that made them who they are, as opposed to what you see them? I think films used to be more one-dimensional, and now it's like we can just breathe in this world. And that, to me, is like just such a cool thing. And as someone who has studied acting for a long time, just learning how to really develop a character, to have all that backstory that's already created for you, makes it that much easier to just step into it because you already know all of these things about your character. You don't have to like go and do the work and figure it out. It's already there. So that piece is really exciting. And then of course, I have done a fair amount of stunts in my day of acting, and I love doing stunts. And I love like filming stunts and figuring that whole, like having the action piece of it, but then also having a deeper story connected to that. So I think that, like, you know, there's a lot of it's okay. there's a lot of, you know, just Hollywood action that happens, but there isn't always a storyline that goes with it. And I love that this piece has both. It's got a deeper story, and it also has a lot of really fun fight scenes, which will be, I mean, it's going to be a blast to get to go through those and choreograph and coordinate and, you know.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about your character. Let's talk a little bit about Ray.
Yes.
And what is her name?
Ariel. Yes. Ariel.
And so originally when we wrote the character, it was meant to be this really cool, young, attitudinal girl. And we've kind of developed it into this, and we get to go back and tell her backstory, which is really exciting. I'm really excited to hear why you like that character, and I'd love to know what you think about where she's going and where we're leading, like in the arc of the story. Tell me a little bit about it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I love the character. First of all, it's fun to play that like angsty, kind of like sassy side of things. I mean, I tend to be a pretty cheery, happy person, but that's in me. And so I love playing characters like that because it's almost like it gives me an outlet to be able to be that person, you know, like tell it how it is and say what's on my mind. So I love that aspect. And I also think that she kind of goes through the journey that most kids go through of self-discovery and developing and understanding, like starting out with a little bit of that like angst at the world and not understanding why it is the way that it is, and then later opening up to and learning how to harness her powers. So not coming from like, not having the power coming from an angsty place, but having it come from a deeper, more well-rounded, understanding, grounded place. And also, I think her character has a lot to do with facing your own fears, facing your internal fears, and the things that like eat at us all the time, and learning how to harness that and turn it into something that's good. Because we all have those, and those things are always whispering in our ear. And they're, as much as we do deeper work on ourselves, and I'm definitely an advocate for meditation and yoga, doing deep work and understanding why I am the way I am. And that is like a big piece, is realizing we'll always have some of our wounds, but how are we going to let those affect us? And she is a great character in showing like some deep wounds that she has, some like feeling like she doesn't fit in, not understanding that, and being able to turn that into a power.
Right.
And then eventually finding these really cool powers, which is awesome and exciting. And coming from two worlds, which I've always felt like for myself, I've always been kind of the person.
Wait, you said coming from two worlds.
She's coming from two worlds.
Explain to us what do you mean by that?
Okay.
Coming from two worlds.
So she is, and you have to help me with this as well, but she is half, her mom is from a warrior tribe.
I believe called Tuk. It's a Tuk tribe.
The Tuk tribe. And they are these strong, powerful warriors, but they're human.
Non-magical.
Non-magical. They're human.
Human.
Yeah, human-esque in this world. And then she also comes from this tribe of wizards.
Yeah, her
powerful. Yeah, he knows.
Her husband is her father. Is part of the Majuan.
Part of the Majuan.
Yeah.
And so coming from two different worlds and having to find peace with that, you know, and also finding power in that. And I think for me in my actual life, I've always felt like I'm someone who's kind of in two worlds. I understand both sides of a lot of things.
Right.
But yeah, I'm always kind of there bridging, helping people understand the opposite side. And see that as one of my strengths now that I've understood it. It for a while seemed difficult because I always felt like I didn't quite belong as a kid. But now I understand that it's like, no, it's so you can see and have the perspective of both sides and help other people see that, you know?
So to kind of, so for the audience's perspective or understanding, we have kind of gone back and told a little bit about your character's backstory.
Yes.
So we get to see the young Wraith. And on this planet, you live very, very long. So regardless of your background, because of the atmosphere of the planet, they live hundreds of years. So we wanted to play with the extended life idea. And so we get to go back and tell this whole cool story with an actress named Violet, who is a phenomenal little actress. And she plays the young Wraith. And I'm excited to put the two of you together and to start getting to work with you guys together as the same character. So I think that'll be fun.
Big time, definitely.
Should we tell the audience the surprise about the swords?
Yeah, let's dive into all of it.
So since we're Star Wars nerds, let's start with the energy swords. So I'm just gonna say, in this story, we have what would essentially be like a lightsaber. The mechanism by what makes them work is a little different, although you never really see it. We've kind of created our own little thing about them, but they're essentially just energy swords. And I'm super excited to play with that idea. And then we have this oxanium mineral on this planet that, sort of like in Mandalore.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of
like Mandalorian.
Mandalorian on some level.
The warrior class of people have created an armor outfit that is able to deflect those energy swords and a lot of the lasers and things that a lot of the other technological people have. The cool thing that I think is cool is we're kind of taking old Renaissance and new technologies and kind of trying to merge them in a way so that you have some people like to live in that old way. And you have magic and we have all this cool stuff, and then you have the new technology. And can we merge this in a way so that it still makes sense in our story? And I think we're doing a pretty good job. I think so.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And
taking some of the coolest aspects of Star Wars, which we've got like the Mandalorian, we've got the Jedi.
So I always tell people, if we've taken Star Wars, Doctor Strange, and Hobbit, and kind of mixed them all together.
Living long lives.
Long lives. And
totally.
I have a surprise about I'm going to, at some point in the story, I'm going to bring a satyr into the story. So we're going to have a story from a half-breed. So meaning an actual, I mean, technically Wraith is technically a half-breed.
She's kind of a half-breed.
She's kind of a half-breed too. But an animal and human half-breed. So, or what would essentially be a satyr.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Interesting.
And so,
cool.
Anyway, if I can get the costume to work, I'm gonna do kind of part satyr and full satyr. So your full satyr is gonna be huge characters.
Oh, cool.
Because we put them on stilts and all, and then half satyrs would be like humanesque type satyry.
Oh, nice.
Say like a half-breed type of half-breed.
Yeah.
If you will.
See the places this universe can go.
Right. So
cool. Awesome.
So super excited about it. I'm excited. I'm hoping that the Star Wars fandom and and the World of Warcraft.
Oh, that's right. That's one I don't know as well,
right.
Which I'm sorry to say.
So,
but
I do have a homage to World of Warcraft in the second episode. I tell people Leroy Jenkins, and if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you're not going to know. But it's that character is going to be played, I think, by my son Jaron.
Oh, cool!
And so that should be a lot of fun. He's going to enjoy that. And so, anyway. Yeah. A lot of cool stuff happening. So
we're hoping to get to episode 2 in this next.
Well, we're actually starting the pre-production this next week.
Yeah.
So
doing stunt coordination.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Choreo.
In fact, we're doing fight choreo tomorrow. So
that next episode will be really cool.
That'll be real. I'm super excited. That's actually out of all of these scripts right now. That's my favorite script is episode 2. So. Yeah, that might change.
We got a lot of characters.
A lot of characters in it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, we have support from the sheriff.
I was just going to say, we've got to throw that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the sheriff's department is Hamilton Sheriff. Right on. Thanks, Steve.
Shout out to you.
Shout out to Steve. And, so we've got a lot of support from the community. So I'm super excited about it. The end goal marketing plan for Chronicles is to create all of the 13 or so episodes that we have. And then I'm going to put them out on Film Hub. I'm hoping that they will start generating income to start feeding back into it for us to then do another marketing campaign to consolidate all of these into one big episode. Because eventually I want to do 3 or 4 seasons and to create a saga from the story.
Cool.
And who knows where it can go then. I mean, it really is its own independent story.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is there's a whole fan base of people that love fantasy. They love and the thing for me as a director is it's got to be a good story. Like
I agree.
If it's a good story and it keeps me keeps me my attention, I'll watch it for as long as they provide content.
Yeah, totally.
And
same.
I think we have brilliant actors. I think we have. I've got even a friend of mine, Mark, from Billings, that I'm going to bring in to this. He plays, I believe, Wraith's father.
Okay.
And I met him on the set of another project, and he's just a really great guy, and I'm excited to work with him. So, like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping it'll be. Obviously, I'm hoping it'll be profitable, but more so, I'm hoping that the audience worldwide will help support it. That's for me is what's
picked up through that people enjoy it.
I think it'll be a great story to share with the world.
Yeah,
I really do.
So cool. Yeah. So you've got all these projects going on.
Right.
Can we get a little insight into your process as a director and
my process as everything is it kind of it's changed over the years. I'd like to think that now I'm kind of in a I found a routine that I like.
Cool.
I've had people say to me, you kind of direct very Stanley Kubrick-ish.
Okay.
But in the sense of I like to keep my crew small. I like an intimate space, and I really like to work with my actors. Because really for me what's important, despite having all the technology in the world and having hundreds of crew is great, but at the end of the day what's important is what's in front of that camera and what are we capturing in the frame, because at the end of the day that's what the audience sees. And whether they fall in love with your character or not is on you and me as a director.
Totally.
And so I kind of told people too, I said, in times when it's challenging or I'm working with newer actors, I will work and mold a little more because it's a hard enough struggle as an actor, especially an experienced actor, to come up with motivations for things, especially when you're shooting things over and over and over again.
Totally.
And so my process is to try to, one, make the set as at ease as possible. And the other thing for me as a director is, what am I capturing on film? The difference, and I teach this as an acting coach, is the difference in acting for stage and acting for film is that you have an unbiased third party involved, and that's the camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, one of my tools that I use all the time is this I call my little directing monitor. Because at the end of the day, you as an audience member are seeing this. And this has got to sell. I love sitting around and watching the actors perform, but at the end of the day, your performance may be great, but if it's not believable on film, if it's not believable on the screen, it's not going to be believable to the audience.
Totally.
And so my process for actors is I tell them, listen, because I grew up in theater. So it took me a long time to realize there's a whole different world in film than there is on stage.
Big time.
Part of it, when you step into a theater, you let go of a lot of your, you accept what you're being presented.
Yes.
On stage, I believe much easier than on film.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're actually in a space where you realize it's not real. And so you have to suspend disbelief and just accept what's being presented. Versus on film, where the camera doesn't lie. And I tell people, if you don't, as an actor, don't believe what you're doing, the camera's not going to lie to me. And I'm going to tell that you're not in it. And so the difference is your performance on film has to be real, where your performance on stage does not. And not that your process is any less important.
Totally.
But the camera, because it's an unbiased observer, does not lie to me as to what you're really feeling.
Totally.
And I can, any audience,
and you can see that internal.
Correct.
You can see the internal monologue a lot.
Absolutely.
It's like right up
Absolutely.
there.
And it's in your face.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so there's that. So while I'm directing, oftentimes I always have my monitor because I need to know for a fact that what you're giving me is selling, looks, and not that it only looks good, but I'm more paying attention is Ilsa's performance. Am I buying it on the?
Am I feeling
in the image?
Yeah,
because that's what the audience is going to see. Despite all the special effects and all the other stuff that we do, that performance has got to sell me, and I've got to believe that you believe the situation. Because if you don't, nobody else is going to.
Yeah,
and that's viewable and palatable on film. And that's the difference between stage and film.
Definitely.
For me.
No, I feel that.
So
I see you brought some things
yeah.
over here.
Okay. So
let's see what this is.
So,
I know what this is.
Ilsa introduced me to an amazing costume designer.
Yes.
Her name is Felicia Sorry, Felicia. It's so hard to pronounce your last name. Shire?
I don't know how she says it exactly.
Schreier? Anyway.
Let's just start that over. It's Fish. She goes by the name Fish.
Yeah, we call her Fish on set.
Yeah.
So this is was created by her. It's fish scale armor. I hand that to you. And
not only just fish scale armor, this thing is heavy.
Yeah. Well, and admittedly, when I first bought the scales for this, I was looking at all the different styles going, oh, brass, that's cool. I didn't stop to think that brass is heavier than aluminum. And it is
Just kind of work out.
a very, you're going to have to do like,
it is a workout.
Arm lifts for it.
Especially because we're going to be doing stunts and things in this thing.
So this, though, is the armor that is made from the black mineral oxanium. We're hopefully going to do this really cool blacksmith scene where you're going to get to see kind of how the process on film. And so that's one of the cool things that I'm excited. I'm really excited to, because her character is basically dismantled this and uses just the one piece, because she's actually also a what we call a wizardess. Yeah,
not half.
So
it's my mom's side. Yeah.
So it's really just meant to be a kind of a deflective, but also just kind of to keep her grounded, and I think her character grounded in that part of her background.
That side.
That side. Yeah. So we will make another rendition that's a lot lighter.
Yeah. No, she did such a great job. Actually, I've recently been watching the new Game of Thrones and noticing that material used for armor.
Yeah, now they're using a lot more.
It before.
Yeah.
I had never seen that. You don't think about how it's made or what pieces are put together.
Right.
Now seeing that, and then I'm paying attention to it, and it's like definitely a very professional looking. I mean, it's awesome.
She did amazing.
Part of this.
So thank you, Felicia, because it was it's amazing. So.
Yeah.
So that's.
Anything else we need to?
I think that pretty much does it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming today. Setting everything up. So excited to continue on the film journey.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for
because big things
for watching.
Happening.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's, again, special thanks to the Montana Film Office and the Big Sky Film Grant for your support in the Given Days and military veterans. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So, definitely. Yes. I'm so glad that we did this today.
I am too.
And everybody stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Lots more
stuff coming.
Yep.
And it's only getting better.
Only getting better. And we're in Hamilton, Montana.
Yeah.
And all over the state actually, but
and Missoula.
Missoula and Missoula.
That's where we are right now.
Yep. So.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Cool.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you soon.
Yeah. And cut.
Yeah.